Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today we have a Tier 8 domination battle here on the Northern Lights map, starring STK-484, hereinafter referred to as Dave, because I'm not saying that multiple times over the course of this video. I mean, it's not that bad, but, well, everybody loves Dave, and he's back. He's in everybody's favourite Tier 8 secondary powerhouse, the USS Massachusetts. Well, I say everybody's favourite. There's guaranteed to be some contrarian in the comments who doesn't like this ship. But it is a very good and extremely popular ship, because secondaries are fun. And the Massachusetts secondaries are absolutely terrifying to be on the receiving end of it. She's the second South Dakota-class battleship to be introduced into World of Warships, with the first being the USS Alabama. No sign yet of the USS South Dakota or the USS Indiana, which were the two other South Dakotas. And funnily enough, despite the fact that the Alabama was the last South Dakota to be built, she was the first one introduced into the game. Both the Alabama and the Massachusetts here are premiums, but unless I'm very much mistaken, neither of them remain available for purchase. Although there have been 3 different versions of both of these ships introduced into the game. And the Massachusetts Black version, at least, is almost certain to be rolled out every Black Friday. Although there's no black version of the Alabama. Despite them both being the same class of ships and looking, at least, identical, there are significant differences. The differences primarily being what the Alabama doesn't get, rather than what it does. It doesn't get these amazing secondaries that the Massachusetts enjoys. I mean, the Alabama isn't a bad ship. It's just that it doesn't really have anything outstanding about it, aside from its torpedo protection. But nobody says, got some money burning a hole in my pocket. I could buy something with great guns, great torpedoes, great survivability. You know what? I'm in the market for something with great torpedo protection. Said nobody, ever. The Massachusetts, however, has secondaries that fire faster, further, and more accurately than any other American battleship. Except for the Massachusetts Black. What the Alabama and the Massachusetts do have in common is extremely powerful anti-aircraft firepower for their tier, as the enemy Ryujo just found out the hard way. The bulk of the Massachusetts secondaries are her dual-purpose 5-inch guns, featuring exactly the same guns in exactly the same turrets that you find on American destroyers like the Fletcher and the Gearing. And because they're dual-purpose guns, they're also anti-aircraft guns. There are 2 carriers on each side in this battle, by the way, and both teams have exactly the same combination of carriers, a Tier 8 Yorktown and a Tier 6 Ryujo. It was the Ryujo that just got its torpedo dive bombers. Torpedo dive bombers? That's not even a thing. It's torpedo bombers shredded by Dave's secondaries. Hang on a minute, Jingles. I'm Eaton Bitter. Aren't you the one that keeps going on about how carriers are broken, and regardless of the tier of the carrier, there's absolutely nothing in this game that will stop them from getting their first strike off? And, well, yeah, I mean, I do say that. And in my defence, however, I do have to point out that while Dave's impressive AA defences were absolutely a factor in the complete failure of the Ryujo to get his first strike off, the fact that he also flew those torpedo bombers over a Leander, a Mackinson, and New Orleans on the way here probably had an awful lot to do with it as well. Oh, the team had just lost their first ship. Heavy cruiser, the Prinz Eugen's gone down. Enemy Kagero got momentarily spotted there, by the way, and since this is absolutely a secondary build, Dave focused the secondaries on him, forcing the Kagero to go dark or get himself blattered. Switching his fire now to the Zeton. He doesn't appear to be targeting him, so, and there's the Kagero again, refocuses the secondaries. Kagero's about to have a very, very bad day, although potentially so is the friendly Ognavoy over there. Kagero's the one who's gotten him spotted, forcing the Ognavoy to commit to a suicide run against the Zeton. The Zeton absolutely turning his guns on the Ognavoy. Oh, the Ryujo's just managed to actually get his first kill. He's taken out an AA cruiser, a tier higher than him. Knocked out the New Orleans. There goes the Ognavoy, because of course he did. Team are now 3 kills and 1 cap circle down. You know, the Ognavoy's death was kind of unlucky, but also entirely predictable at the same time. Because he was extremely unlucky that in a match with only 1 destroyer per team, he picked the same cap circle as the enemy Kagero, which is always going to outspot him. But he's in a Russian destroyer. they have terrible stealth, and especially in a game with 2 carriers in play, you don't go rushing cap circles at the start of the match in a Russian destroyer. It looks like the Zeton, despite the presence of Dave here, and if you look at the map, a broadside of Margie behind him, is trying to lob shells at the, well, certainly was trying to lob shells at the angled Cherbourg on the other side of the mountains over there, and just leaving his secondaries to do the heavy lifting on this side. Which means the Amagi's finished him, and that's really bad news for the Kagero. You'd think the amount of times this Kagero has popped up, been spotted, and immediately focused by all of these secondaries, you would have taken the hint by now, but, well, apparently no. So that's 2 kills clawed back. The team are no longer at under 200 points, but the enemy team are still 100 points ahead, and they still have the 1 cap circle advantage. Dave's first kill, though. Unfortunately, this could be quite dangerous, because he did take quite a beating from the Zeton secondaries. The German battlecruisers very famously also having good secondaries. And that's left him a sitting duck for, this time at least, the Yorktown. Meanwhile, with the death of absolutely everybody on his team in front of him, the Cherbourg over there is noping the hell out of here, but, well, day late and a dollar short. Dave's second kill. Both teams, 3 kills apiece. The enemy team, however, still with that narrow points lead, still with that 1 cap advantage. Dave is on fire. Why is Dave not using his damage control to extinguish the fire? There's a reason why, unless under very specific circumstances on a battleship, you almost never use your damage control to extinguish a single fire or a single flood. First, you can heal back almost all of that fire and flood damage, so unless there's imminent danger of you being set on fire or flooded again, it's almost always worth it to just let it run its natural course, as this one has. The other reason is that when there are F4 Corsairs from a Yorktown lurking around waiting to see if you're dumb enough to blow your damage control on a single fire, and then swoop in and not only carve out a huge chunk of your hit points but also then set a double fire, that's the sort of thing that you do not want to let run its natural course, because those Tiny Tim rockets pack one hell of a punch and have a very high chance of setting a fire. Can he take out the Coronel Boller? No, you've got to be kidding. Don't get me wrong, the 16-inch guns on the Massachusetts, I mean, they're not bad. We're not talking Gneisenau levels of terrible guns here, but they're definitely not the ship's strongest feature. So the Coronel Bolognese gets away to, well, not necessarily fight another day, but he gets away to die slightly later on in this battle, because he does, he's getting, somebody's going to get him. Somebody can see him around the other side of the island there. Yep, it's the friendly Cherbourg chipping away at him. Enemy cruisers returning fire. You'd think, well, you know, stop shooting, go undetected and survive, but he doesn't have an awful lot of choice in the matter, with the friendly Yorktown keeping him spotted and swooping in for what might be a kill. Don't forget those Tiny Tim rockets. Oh, it looks like he's missed. Oh, the team have just pulled a kill back anyway. The friendly Amagi just wiped out the enemy Orion 44. And the enemy team are now behind on points for the first time in this battle, with the cap circle at Delta being flipped, meaning that the enemy team now only control the 1 cap. Cap circle at Charlie is still up for grabs. The Coronel Bolognese surely has to die soon. And I found myself thinking, what the hell is this Leander doing? You know, other than getting in everybody's way. And then a couple of things happen. First, the Cherbourg finally gets the kill on the Coronel Bolognese, although he is being hammered by the North Carolina over there. The Edinburgh on the enemy kill. English is hard. The Edinburgh on the enemy team manages to claw 1 kill back, taking out the friendly Strasbourg. Beautiful citadel there on the North Carolina. And that's when I realised, oh, the Leander was laying a smoke screen. But he wasn't. That's actually the Yorktown. The Yorktown is one of those carriers that has aircraft that can drop a smoke curtain. Meanwhile, we get another extremely unlikely submarine on submarine kill with the enemy salmon torpedoing and sinking the friendly U-190. Dave is still doing his level best to protect the Cherbourg and prevent the North Carolina over there from killing it, which he manages to do, chalking up his 3rd kill. Of course, blasting away with your 16-inch guns removes any possibility of being able to successfully hide in any kind of smokescreen that the Yorktown had created, but, well, the North Carolina needed to die. The Ryujo manages to get one drop away, but, well, Tier 6 carrier in a Tier 8 battle, running into the combined AA fire of a pair of Tier 8 battleships, amazed that he actually even managed to get half a strike away. Dave, with an express delivery of 16-inch super heavy armor piercing, almost manages to replicate the Battle of the North Cape on the New Mexico over there. I know the New Mexico wasn't, but just go with it, alright? But with the Mackinson and the Massachusetts, both of whom have fairly impressive secondaries, I can't see the New Mexico surviving this one. The enemy team have managed to claw back another cap circle though. They're currently leading on caps. The problem is, if they keep losing ships at this rate, and they are, they're not going to be able to hold on to those caps. I'm not saying map control isn't important, it absolutely is, but you can have all the map control you want. If you lose all of your ships getting that map control, you're losing anyway. Friendly Sherbog over there begging for fighter support and protection from the friendly carriers, which is understandable, but the friendly Yorktown unfortunately having to tell him that with enemy Yorktown dive bombers closing in, all the fighter support in the world isn't going to save him. He's a Yorktown himself. He knows how effective the Yorktown's dive bombers are. Which is kind of funny if you think about it. And I mean funny in the you've got to be kidding me kind of way, rather than the funny ha-ha way. Because, I mean, I consider myself something of a student of naval history. I'm no expert. I don't do it for a living or anything. And I'm not saying that the Yorktown player was wrong to say that there was nothing he could do to protect the Cherbourg, but I'm reasonably sure, based on my, limited reading of naval history, that fighter aircraft protecting ships from air attack, that's exactly what fighter aircraft was supposed to be for, isn't it? Maybe Wargaming just doesn't read the same books that the rest of us do. Meanwhile, the friendly Amagi, he's had a good game. He had 4 kills, one short of a Kraken, but his kill streak just came to an end at the hands of that Edinburgh. There are now only 3 ships left on the enemy team, the Edinburgh over there being one of them, obviously. And the teams now have cap circle parity. But the enemy team have had more caps for longer, hence, well, they're only really 50 points behind, despite the 2-kill advantage that Dave's team enjoys. A 2-kill advantage that no matter how the Edinburgh tries to twist and turn, constantly spotted from the air as he is, it's only a matter of time before he goes down too. Dave picks up the Confederate award. There's just the 2 enemy carriers left, the Yorktown, Tier 8, and the Ryujo, a Tier 6. I do kind of have to say, I do feel a certain amount of sympathy for the Ryujo. I know, you thought hell would freeze over before I expressed any sympathy for an aircraft carrier in this game. But he is just a Tier 6 carrier, and this is a Tier 8 battle. At the same time, though, I do have to kind of temper that sympathy with a healthy dose of realism, because he is choosing to send his Tier 6 carrier attack aircraft against a pair of Tier 8 battleships, both of which have fairly impressive anti-aircraft firepower, rather than, for example, the extremely lightly armed and extremely lightly armoured Tier 6 light cruiser, the Leander, that's closing in on his position. The Leander, who, despite the fact that the patrol aircraft from the Yorktown that are keeping him spotted basically have no hit points, is having a bugger of a time and miserably failing at shooting them down. How are those patrol aircraft? They've actually... Wow. It is not often in this game you see anti-aircraft firepower that is so incredibly bad that it can't even deal with a patrol aircraft consumable. But you just saw it happen. Holy shit, the Leander's AA is bad. I mean, in a game where most anti-aircraft defences are thoroughly miserable at best, I mean, you're usually at least able to shoot down patrol fighters. But not the Leander. Oh, wow, that is shockingly bad. And also kind of contradictory. Let me just read you Wargaming's own description of the Leander from the World of Warships wiki page. A new generation light cruiser designed to serve as a scout both within a squadron and independently. In contrast to her predecessors, the ship's main advantage was that her main guns were placed in gun turrets. The ship also had stronger AA defences and better armour protection. Yeah, you just heard Wargaming describing the Leander as having better armour protection and stronger AA defences. Better armour and AA than what exactly? An ice cream van? Let's see how well the Leander's stronger AA defences are protecting it against a Ryujo and a Yorktown. And you know, this is absolutely the kind of circumstances where no amount of anti-aircraft defences should be able to keep you afloat, and they didn't. Because the Leander should have damn well known better than to go up against 2 carriers, even with fighter cover from the friendly Yorktown. But that works both ways. While I was expressing a certain amount of sympathy for the difficulties being experienced by the enemy Ryujo, as the Yorktown initiates a cross-drop here on Dave, something that the aircraft carrier rework was supposed to have made impossible, by the way, but well, here it comes. Torpedoes from the front to keep them sailing in this direction, and then torpedoes from the side at more or less exactly the same time to ensure that all 4 of them hit, while the Ryujo takes advantage of him focusing his fire on, completely ineffectually focusing his fire on the Yorktown's torpedo bombers to sneak in from the other side with a rocket attack plane hit. And it's not his anti-aircraft guns that are keeping his ass intact here. It's the smoke curtain dropped by the friendly Yorktown. I do have to give a shout out to the friendly Yorktown, by the way, because he's not just being greedy and focusing on kills. He's doing everything he possibly can to assist his teammates with all of the tools at his disposal. He's dropping patrol fighters, you know, for all the difference they're going to make. They certainly didn't help the Leander or the Cherbourg. And he's laying these smoke curtains. And while the first smoke curtain earlier on, when Dave was shooting at the North Carolina, wasn't particularly effective because he was shooting at the North Carolina and, well, battleships basically gain no benefit from a smokescreen if they're firing the main battery guns. But this one, highly effective, because Dave's smart enough to take the hint and stop firing anything other than his anti-aircraft guns while he's being harassed from the air and shielded from detection by a smokescreen laid by the Yorktown while he's flipping that final cap circle. And it worked. The team now have all 4 of the caps. Despite the fact that there are only 2 carriers left on the enemy team, I can't believe I exist in a world where you would ever hear me say something like, only 2 carriers. You'd think this would be a easy win. And it probably is going to be an easy win, but, well, you've got to ask yourself the question, easy for who? It's certainly going to be easy for the 2 friendly carriers. I mean, they don't have to risk anything, they're aircraft carriers. Easy for Dave? Yeah, not necessarily. He's in a low-health battleship right next to a pair of enemy carriers who can cycle their aircraft extremely quickly. And, well, he's the obvious target for them to focus their fire on. And while there's a certain amount of blame here for his demise that Dave has to shoulder, because the Yorktown did give him another smoke curtain and he could have stayed undetected, but he really, really, really wants to kill that Ryujo. And the price for that, and the Kraken Unleashed, which he earned by doing it, was to get spotted, despite the smokescreen, cross-dropped again, flooded, damage control on cooldown, and dead. But he got a carrier kill. And those are the best kind of kills. So I'm going to go ahead and say it was worth it. It's not like he was risking losing here or anything. You know, this was never going to be an episode of a Game of Thrones. The team still have 3 ships left alive against the Yorktown. And while the Mackinson over there is probably sweating bullets because he knows he's next, with all 4 of the cap circles under their control, and at about 950 points, there's no way the Yorktown can do anything other than, I mean, it's still possible for him to kill the Mackinson in the time that's remaining. In fact, no, I don't even think it's possible for him to kill the Mackinson in the time that's remaining. The team's now up to 970 points. He's going to get 1 strike, maybe 2 if he manages to pull off a cross drop. But that's all he's going to get, and that isn't going to be enough. To his credit, the enemy Yorktown player does congratulate the team for their victory, but there was absolutely nothing that he could actually do to prevent that victory from happening. So well done to him at least for being a good sport about it. And of course, well done to Dave in the USS Massachusetts. 152,000 damage, nearly 1 million credits received, Confederate, close quarters expert, Kraken Unleashed, and with 59 aircraft kills, air defense expert. The most meaningless medal in the game. It is literally just there as a consolation award for getting focused by carriers the entire game. That's not to take anything away from the enemy Yorktown, of course, who did play a great game and was rewarded by it by being a first-place loser. That's got to suck. And well done to the Ryujo as well. I mean, it's not fun being a Tier 6 carrier in a Tier 8 battle. I mean, you can still get your strikes away, but you have to pay a very, very heavy price in aircraft for it. So well done to him for placing as highly as he did. But I hope you all enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.